Okay, let's go to Tanya. I know it's a 4 minutes, 3 minutes early, but it's okay. We're middle of Perek Lamed Hey. We're on page 160 at the bottom, 88 on top. We are in the middle of the page. Okay. The Alter Rebbe is explaining over here, just to summarize where we're at. The Alter Rebbe is explaining what is the purpose of the Beinani's neshama coming down into a body, fight, and never win. But Alter Rebbe says, I will explain it by first understanding a Zohar. The Zohar says, this Yenuka, this little kid said, he said that Shlomo Melech writes in the Pasuk, HaChacham Einav B'Rosheh. A Chacham's eyes are in his head. So the kid asks, where is the eyes of a fool? Also in the head. So the Yenuka, this kid of the Zohar, explains the following. What Shlomo Melech is saying, where are the eyes of a person on his head? Meaning, you have to realize what is on your head. And the Gemara said that's why you don't walk without a kippah 6 feet, 4 amas. Why? Because it reminds us that Shechina, the divine presence, is on our head. And this fire, which represents the Shechina, needs fuel. And the fuel is Torah and mitzvahs. Therefore, Shlomo Melech said, Shemen al reish chol yechzad, don't lack oil on your head. What is the oil? The observance of mitzvahs. Now the Alter Rebbe started explaining, why do we need mitzvahs? We have a neshama, which is a part of Hashem. Why isn't that itself fuel? So the Alter Rebbe starts explaining that even a Jew, on the highest caliber Jew, Tzaddik Gomer is a complete tzaddik, he loves Hashem on the highest level, is somebody who loves. It is not complete bittul. It's not complete nullification. I am a person who loves. Yes, I love Hashem, nothing in world, nothing at all of world. I enjoy godliness, but there's a me that loves. So he says like this, in order to come to real nullification, that you are one with God without being a separate entity itself, he says that's the action of mitzvahs. The action of mitzvahs. What is the action of mitzvahs? He says like this. Mitzvahs are in physical objects. Okay, what we're going to learn today, the Alter Rebbe elaborates more on this. Mitzvahs are in physical objects. Physical objects are lower than speech and thought, and therefore it's a greater descent for godliness to come into action, into physical things, than it is to come into spiritual things. Because physical things are things that deny the existence of God. And then he says like this, and this we're up to now. The world that God created was the external will of Hashem. We learned this great length last week. But in a nutshell, Hashem wanted to create a world, but that's not the real purpose of the world. The real purpose of the world is for Jews to do mitzvahs. Like we said last time, a guy wants to work. He wants to work. But why does he want to work? That's the external will. What he really wants is money. He wants money. So he knows in order to make money, you have to work. So I want to work. But that's not my real intent. The real intent is to make money. Even that's not the real will. The real will is to live like a Jew. In order to live like a Jew, you need money. But the bottom line is, Hashem, he says, Alter Rebbe says like this. Did Hashem want to create a world? 100%. Why did Hashem create? What's the ultimate real purpose of the world? That a Jew should bring Kedusha into this world. Hashem wanted a dira, a dwelling place, b'tachtonim, in the low worlds. So Hashem wanted a world that's called low, Kashmir, that denies the existence of God, doesn't realize God. What is the purpose of it though? What's the ultimate purpose? Is in that world, which was the external will of Hashem, to bring down real mitzvahs. And by doing mitzvahs, what are you showing? That this physical leather is not separated from Hashem. That leather became tefillin. That piece of wax became a candle. What is that candle doing? It's doing a mitzvah. What is that leather or wool doing? It's becoming tzitzis or tefillin. That is the real bittul. Okay? Now, we're going to start approximately in the middle of the page, 88 on top, 160 at the bottom. He says like this: when you say the divine presence is there, okay, I'm going to go up for a second. We know the Beis HaMikdash that we're learning about now during the 3 weeks. The Beis HaMikdash is God's home. Make for me a Mikdash, and I will dwell in its midst, in your midst. The question is, Shlomo Melech, after we mentioned this in a very recent class, Shlomo Melech, when he finished building the Beis HaMikdash, said to Hashem, is a pasuk in Malachim, the heavens and everything in the universe can't hold you if you're too great for that. The Afki Abai says that, and this little home called the Beis HaMikdash is going to be your home. The world is not big enough for you. How could this home do it? So, what does it mean that the Beis HaMikdash was God? Is God not all over the world? Of course, Hashem's all over the world. So why do we say Hashem rests in the Beis HaMikdash? He's all over the world equally. So the Alter Rebbe is explaining now, what does it mean where Hashem rests? When you say something is holy, the Sefer is holy, Tefillin are holy, there's Kedusha objects. What does it mean it's holy? It means it's a place where Hashem reveals himself. Of course, Hashem's all over. There isn't a place in the universe, spiritual universe and physical universe, that Hashem is not existing there. What's the difference between holy objects and unholy objects, between the Beis HaMikdash and everywhere else, a shul and everywhere else? That's a place, because it's doing what Hashem wants it to do. It's a place where Hashem reveals himself. Holiness means a place where Hashem reveals himself. Of course, he's all over. And that's what he says like this. What does it mean? When you say the dwelling of the Shechina, what does that mean? It means Gilui Elokusa Yisbarach, the revelation of godliness. The earnings of Baruch Hu, and the infinite revelation of Hashem, Be'eza Dover, into a certain object. V'hainu, which means, to say, She'eisei Dover, that object, Nichlal Be'er Hashem, is part, it's merging in the art of the revelation of Hashem, Ubatulei B'metzias L'gamri, and is completely nullified. Sha'az, then, because it's completely nullified to Hashem, and I'll explain in a second, then Hushera Umizgala by Hashem Echad. Then Hashem could rest in that object, in that place. Meaning like this. Tefillin are holy. So somebody can ask a question, you know what? I don't see Kedusha in the Tefillin. I don't see Kedusha in the Tefillin. What do you mean it's holy? The answer is, there is a revelation of God in the Tefillin. The problem is, my eyesight is no good. I don't see it, but it's there. A tzaddik with a vision could see it. They see this object as holy. They see a Sefer Torah as holy. When Mashiach comes, Hashem's going to open up our eyes. We're all going to see it. In other words, like this. Now, when we do Torah and mitzvahs, We reveal with a physical object. We reveal godliness in this physical object. Me and you don't see it. Maybe you do. I don't. Because we don't have, we're not holy enough to have eyes that see. It says like the pasuk in Tehillim, it speaks over there about the nation of the world. Einayim lohem v'lo yiru. They have eyes, but they don't see. They have ears, but they don't hear. We have eyes, but we don't see. Why? Because our eyes are not holy enough to see what a holy object is. Why is this object holy? Because this object, through the person doing the mitzvah, is doing what the purpose of why Hashem created it. And therefore, because it's doing what Hashem wants, it's completely bottled, nullified, subjugated, united with Hashem himself. By the way, the Rebbe said earlier in Tanya that if a person eats, it's not only by mitzvahs. It says, in all your ways know Hashem. All your actions are l'shem shemayim. The Rebbe said before in Tanya, when a person eats with a bracha for the right purposes, not because he lives to eat. He's eating to be healthy, to be able to serve Hashem better. Now, the Rebbe said earlier in Tanya, that eating becomes korban. It becomes holy. Because that food that you ate properly, not of course kosher, of course with a bracha, for the right purposes, that food accomplished what Hashem wanted it to do. Therefore, it is completely nullified and bottled to Hashem. Therefore, what tzaddik who loves Hashem and fears Hashem is somebody who loves and fears. It's not complete bittul. When you do a physical mitzvah, then that you and the object become completely bottled to Hashem. That's why tzaddikim have to do Torah mitzvahs. Somebody could ask, they're self-connected to Hashem, they're so holy, why do they need Torah mitzvahs? The answer is without the Rebbe saying here, because they could be very holy, they can love Hashem, fear Hashem to the highest of levels, but the bottom line is, there's somebody who loves, somebody who fears. When you do a mitzvah, he says, but this is an interesting concept, a general concept, by the way. When you say something is holy, it doesn't mean God is there versus other places where God is not. That's apikursis. A person, Hashem is all over. Holiness means it's a place where Hashem revealed himself. For instance, in the Beis HaMikdash, it says in Pirkei Avos, 10 constant miracles. A miracle is a revelation of godliness. People openly saw God. Beis HaMikdash was where Hashem revealed himself, not only in the natural level, but in the supernatural level. When a person does a mitzvah, he takes that physical object and connects it to Hashem. We're learning this week in Shul in the Likutei Torah. Now, the Rebbe asks a very interesting question. Why does Hashem make evil? And we have to elevate it. Don't make evil and don't elevate it. Hashem says, I'm making evil, don't do it. Don't make evil, don't tell us not to do it. So now the Rebbe explains, because what Hashem really wants, and this is what he's saying here, what Hashem really wants is that physical world, which by definition does not feel godliness. It's yesh mi'ayin. It feels like it came from nothing. It is something coming from nothing. That physical object should become completely subjugated and nullified to Hashem, completely bottled to Hashem. Why is that an accomplishment? Don't make evil and don't do it. because now the person accomplished something that he couldn't accomplish if evil didn't exist. If evil didn't exist, if the physical world wouldn't exist, they wouldn't be able to accomplish something new, something unique. That a neshama in Gan Eden feels God, yeah, why not? No body, no Yetzer Hara, no animal soul, of course. What is a unique thing? What's a novelty? That you take a physical object and you elevate it to Kedusha. If it's elevatable, like we learned, if it's Klippas Naiga that you can elevate, to elevate it. If it's something which is completely evil that we're not allowed to do, so you don't do it, you break it. But that's where Alter Rebbe is explaining, don't feel bad. Because your function is not to have love and fear of Hashem. You're accomplishing a greater level. You're taking physical world, and especially because the Beinoni has the Yetzer Hara. The Beinoni didn't kill the Yetzer Hara like the Tzaddik did. The Beinoni has the Yetzer Hara. And what is the Beinoni accomplishing? That he's taking this Yetzer Hara and not giving into it. And not only that, with the Yetzer Hara, he's doing mitzvahs. So he's elevating the Yetzer Hara. He's elevating the physical objects of the world. That's an accomplishment which is unique. That's a unique accomplishment. And that's the inside. Avokoma, but anything. Something which is not completely nullified. It's 99% nullified, but it's not 100% nullified. Ein erd Hashem shedum is galabi. God cannot reveal himself in it. God can only reveal himself in something which is bottled. Something which becomes completely bottled, subjugated, nullified, non-existent. That's where Hashem can rest. The Gemara says in Saita, when the Gemara speaks about haughtiness and ego, the Gemara says about a haughty person, Hashem says, Ein ani v'hu yochelim ladur. I cannot live with this guy together. I cannot coexist with him. Why? Hashem says, the only way I exist if I'm the only thing that exists. If you also exist, I can't exist there. Why? Because God is emes. Reality is ein eid mulvade. Ein eid mulvade means what we say in davening. Ein eid mulvade doesn't only mean that there is no other God. Ein eid mulvade means there is nothing but God. That's what Ein Eid Mulvade means. If somebody feels that they are an existent entity outside of Hashem, Hashem said, I can't be there. Because it's not emes. Reality is you're nothing. Ein Eid Mulvade. There's only God. By the way, this is not an ego trip. Many people that don't know Chassidus ask, it seems that God has a tremendous ego. God says in Torah, you have to listen to me. I took you out of Egypt. I'm God, you're God. You have to listen to me. Somebody that doesn't learn Chassidus will ask a question, what type of ego does this God have? And the answer is, not only is it not ego, not only is it reality, but Hashem is doing us this favor, like we said before. Why did Hashem create the world and says for a Jew to do mitzvahs? Don't create the world and we won't have to do mitzvahs. Finished, everybody will be happy. The answer is because Hashem, for our benefit, is doing us, because he loves us so much, Hashem is doing us a favor, so to speak. He gives a benefit that what? that we who think we're yesh mi'ayin, and what our avodah is to show that the yesh, it seems to be a separate entity, is really ayin, really only Hashem. That is our greatness that a Jew has. In other words, Hashem created yesh mi'ayin. Like it says, Bereshis bara Elokim, in the beginning God created. The Ramban says at the beginning of Chumash, bara in Lashon Kodesh in Hebrew means yesh mi'ayin, something from nothing. What is the role of a Jew? What is the role of Torah mitzvahs? The role of Torah mitzvahs, the role of a Jew, is to make this yesh, which seems to be a separate entity, to make it back into ayin. Meaning, the yesh should have the realization that only Hashem exists. That doesn't mean world disappears. What it means is world is not separated or a separate entity outside of Hashem. It's all Hashem. The difference is, holiness is a place where Hashem reveals himself, Dr. Rabbi just said. And the rest of the world is where Hashem exists. Where do you accomplish that mission? The only place, Dr. Rabbi is saying here, you could accomplish that mission is in taking a physical mitzvah in a physical time and place with a physical object, with a physical body, and do the mitzvah. Then you are showing that the world is ein bovade. If Hashem would not create a world, okay, so only Hashem exists. Okay, fine. Here there's a greater accomplishment. There's competition, and yet only Hashem exists. We gave many times the mashal. If there's an only store in the neighborhood, it's the only grocery store, and is doing well, it doesn't mean it's a good store. There's probably nowhere else to go. When do you see the greatness of the store? When there's a bunch of competitors. And yet the store is number one. Then the store, you bring out the greatness of the store. If Hashem wouldn't create the world and the only thing that exists openly is Hashem, so how would it be with competition? Hashem wants something greater for our benefit because we're the ones that do it. We accomplish this. Hashem said, I'm creating a world that seems to be yesh mi'ayin, with physical objects, physical temptation, physical body, physical animal soul. And what I want from you is to show that the world is really godliness. That's what the world really is. That could only be done by doing a physical mitzvah. It can't be done by a tzaddik who loves Hashem with love and fear, because first of all, he's not taking the physical world. He's taking a physical heart maybe, but it's not the physical world. And he's not transforming it to Kedusha. And he says, anything which is not completely nullified, mamish completely, 100%. Ein Hashem Shedem is Galab. And he says, Av Tzaddik Gomer, even a complete Tzaddik, Shabizdabik by Ba'ava Rabba, that clings to Hashem with the greatest level of love. Nevertheless, no mind can grasp Hashem be'emes, ki amitas Hashem Elokim emes, because who can grasp the reality of Hashem? He's saying like this. I'm going to say what we just said and continue because he's in the middle of a point. A tzaddik that loves Hashem with tremendous love and fear is still one who loves and fear. As he says, "So yes, no mind can grasp Hashem." In other words, like this: You're trying to understand love Hashem. You're trying to fear Hashem. That means you're trying to understand what is Hashem. You can only love something that you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, you can't love it. So the tzaddik loves Hashem, meaning through meditation, he reached such a lofty level of godliness that causes him to love it. There's one problem. Your mind is limited. Your mind cannot grasp Hashem. So how in the world can you become one with Hashem with your mind if your mind can't grasp Hashem? There's only one way of becoming one with Hashem. Action mitzvahs. Doing what Hashem wants us to do. Vivkeni says, this tzaddik, ha'oyev, that loves Hashem, but he's a yesh, he's still one who loves. V'lei efes, and not nothing. Less machshavah v'lei tfisa beklal. Hashem cannot rest upon him because he doesn't grasp Hashem at all. Ve'ein Hashem she'erum is galabah. Therefore, the revelation of Hashem cannot rest on this person. Elai de kiyama mitzvahs, only by doing mitzvahs, which is what Hashem wants us to do. The real will of Hashem of creating world, he says, shein ritzayne v'chachmasa yizbarek, which is the will and the wisdom of Hashem. V'lishum has to put him without any concealment. In other words, Alter Rebbe is saying like this: you could be a tzaddik, but you're somebody who loves, and you're loving based on your intellectual comprehension of what Hashem is. You're not completely bottled to Hashem. It's limited. You want to connect to the essence of Hashem? You need to do an action. That's the real will of Hashem. We said Hashem wanted to create a world. That's the external will. The real will, he wants Torah mitzvahs in the world. Take physical and show Einay Mulvade. The whole purpose of world is for a Jew to show Ein Eid Mulvade, there's nothing but Hashem. How do we do this? By taking physical objects that seem to be entities by itself, and you take them and you show that they're really God. And this is an interesting thing, by the way. I know I'm going sidetracking a little bit, but you know, all these modern technologies, whether it's the internet, and now Baruch Hashem, we have artificial intelligence, AI as it's called, and many people are coming out against it. You can't use it, it's kfira, it's this, and a whole tumult in the world today. The Rebbe had an interesting way of approaching things. The Rebbe's opinion is, if Hashem made it, Hashem wants it to be in the world. What is our role? To utilize it and to figure out how that can only be used for holiness and not something contrary to holiness. A knife exists in the world. Now, a knife could be dangerous. What do parents teach a child? Listen, a knife could be dangerous. You have to use it safely. You teach a kid, fire is dangerous. You want to cook something, you have to use the fire safely. We don't say, okay, nobody could use fire because fire is dangerous. God forbid. Hashem created fire, we used to use it. God created a knife, we use it. God created the internet. The Rebbe's opinion was not to ban internet, to utilize internet, what we're doing right now in this class, to utilize internet to show how people can learn Torah better and do mitzvahs better. That in one split second, you can learn it all over the world. And the same thing with everything else. If Hashem created it in the world, it's for a reason. Our job, and it's very difficult because it's very tempting to use these things for the wrong reasons. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe is saying here, the only way a person can connect to Hashem completely, that there's nobody but Hashem, Ein oid mulvadai. I am only the tool, the vehicle for revealing godliness in the world, but it's not me. To give the example of this, when you have an axe, this is a Moshe Chassidus gives, when an axe chops wood, okay, you don't say thank you to the axe. You say thank you to the person who used the axe. If you hear a speech through a microphone, you don't come up later and say thank you, microphone. I mean, if you're a fool, you do that. You heard it through the microphone. Without the microphone, you wouldn't have heard the lecture. But the microphone has no say in the matter. You thank somebody who has free choice to do it or not to do it. Somebody gives you a ride in a car, and you say thank you when you get out of it. You're supposed to say thank you when you get out of the car. You don't say thank you to the car. The car brought you here. But the car didn't have free choice to do it or not to do it. If it didn't have free choice, what are you thanking them for? You thank somebody for having the choice to do it or not to do it. And somebody does it, so you say thank you. A person has to realize this whole concept is we are only the vehicles of Hashem to accomplish that mission. That's the purpose why a Jew is created in the world. What do we gain by this? We connect ourselves to the essence of God. Not to the universe, which is one word from Hashem's mouth, one thought of Hashem's thought. We connect to the essence of Hashem. And that's why the Rebbe says to the Beni, don't feel bad. Look what you're doing. You're doing mitzvahs. You bring out Einoid Mulvadi. Okay. Everybody have a great Shabbos. Shabbos Mevorchim. Mitzvah Monday night, 8 o'clock. No, 8:30, sorry. 8:30 still. Monday night, Parsha at 8:30. Hope to see all of you.